Good morning and welcome to our virtual high-level event, Building Back Better, Risk-Informed COVID Recovery and Rehabilitation and Strengthening Resilience to Climate Change-Related Disasters in Africa and the Caribbean. I'm your moderator this morning. My name is Ugoji Adanma Eze, and I'll be joined by my co-moderator, Mr. Toure Karu, Executive Director of Sustainable Development Initiatives of the United Nations Foundation. As a woman of mixed heritage of the African continent, mainly Nigeria, and the Caribbean region of Cuba and Jamaica, the issue of climate change is indeed very personal to me. When I wrote the concept note a year and a half ago, who would have believed that we'd be facing the global COVID pandemic? The COVID-19 pandemic has overwhelmed health systems, and the ensuing socio-economic disaster has exacerbated poverty and inequality within and across countries. As world leaders continue to strategize on how to build back better from the COVID pandemic, it is indeed imperative that disaster risk reduction and resilience building are at the core of national recovery and rehabilitation efforts. It has also become necessary to urgently strengthen community resilience to climate change related disasters, better assist affected communities to build back better in the aftermath of these disasters, and support developing countries to make policy and investment decisions that reduce existing disaster risks and prevent the creation of new disaster risks. Resilient recovery from the impacts of COVID-19 will not be possible without conscious efforts to boost global resilience on all fronts: social, economic, and environmental. It is indeed important to take strategically calculated and measurable collective actions to support the efforts of countries and communities in this situation. The objective of this high-level event are to articulate possible solutions to the effect of climate-related disasters on people in vulnerable situations and how to address these challenges. Also to reflect on how to ensure that the effect of the COVID-19 and the increase in frequency of climate-related disasters do not result in leaving people from the affected countries and communities behind in the global efforts to achieve Agenda 2030 and other global and regional developments agenda. Also to make connections amongst various development frameworks, including Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, the Samoa Pathway, the Paris Agreement, and the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, in particular goals 1, 11, and 13. The guiding questions we should ask here: how can African and Caribbean countries develop and implement policies and programs to strengthen preparedness, build resilience, reduce forced migration, and reduce disaster risks as part of the Decade of Action and Recovery for the SDG? It gives me great pleasure now to introduce His Excellency, the President of the United Nations General Assembly, Excellency Tijani Mohamed Bande. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
It's of critical importance that the international community develops robust resilience mechanisms that will serve as bulwark to climate change-related disasters as witnessed in the Caribbean and Africa. I commend all representatives and delegations present today for their unwavering commitment to explore all avenues and that will mitigate the environmental and health challenges faced in every part of the world. The COVID-19 pandemic has had immense socioeconomic consequences on all countries, with some member states facing additional climate-related disasters. While wishing a swift recovery to those currently suffering from COVID-19, I also extend my condolences to those who have lost loved ones to the virus. This pandemic's outbreak necessitates strengthening global efforts to address the priorities set out in the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs by building back lost ground. Nonetheless, the limitations of the past ways of doing things have also brought to the fore the need to build back more robust and resilient systems.
Germany, as you can see behind me, right now has the presidency of the Security Council. And during our presidency, we had two signature events that directly deal with the issues that you have today on the agenda. We started the month of July with a major event on COVID-19 and security, the relationship between that. And we will have actually tomorrow another signature event where we look at the combination of climate change and security, repercussions of climate change on security. And I think it's very good that in the event today, you are combining the two phenomena, which I believe is very, very important. We have heard from many about the COVID-19, how COVID-19 endangers development gains. Listen carefully to what ASG Selvin Hart said, Mr. Mosquera said in particular on tourism and the effects of COVID-19 on the development. The pandemic could drive 100 million more people into extreme poverty by the end of the year. And at the same time, climate crisis has not stopped. And we actually need today not only to fight the consequence of COVID-19, but we have to continue to work for more ambitious climate action to fulfill the Paris Agreement and promote comprehensive risk management and adaptation to climate change. So to combine both COVID-19 recovery and climate change related disasters is very good, because health as well as climate crisis have to be addressed in a coordinated way. We have to tackle rising urgent needs, invest in prevention, focus on mitigation and adaptation to climate change.
Considering these facts, Morocco works on climate adaptation with a particular focus on agriculture measures as means to peace building and as a catalyst for dialogue and peaceful conflict resolution. Today, 70% of Africa's population is depending on rainfall.
We fully understand that our efforts should be now focused and directed to overcome the impacts of COVID-19 during the current emergency. However, we should take into consideration how to better recover in the upcoming phases, including through addressing climate change, especially in Africa and the Caribbean.
In our view, there is an urgent need to devise systematic and comprehensive mechanisms to support countries that are prone to greater destruction than the others. Turkey is of the view that the capacities of local populations and national governments should be strengthened with sound policies and strategies which will enable them to better cope with the devastating effects of climate-related disasters. Turkey has been a close partner to contribute to such efforts through its national humanitarian and development agencies such as Turkish Red Crescent, Directorate for Disaster and Emergency, and Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency. Turkey prioritizes providing aid to countries that have been critically affected by extreme weather events.
For the Caribbean countries, climate change is a present reality that pose an additional burden on our fragile economies by affecting vulnerable sectors and infrastructure. The worsening of this climate change impact seems to be now inevitable unless unprecedented mitigation efforts are carried out, while adaptation to this effect represent a challenge to seize unless sufficient, predictable, and additional provision of finance is available. In the case of Cuba, adaptation to climate change and the incorporation of disaster risk reduction perspective in the mid and long-term development plans are mandated by the Constitution and articulated by the State Plan to address climate change, the National Economic and Social Development Plan, and the institution of the civil defense.
Countries are rightfully focused on saving lives and livelihoods. But as the Secretary General has said repeatedly, that that focus should also be paired with a strong commitment to recover better and to recover in a climate resilient, sustainable, and inclusive manner.